Oh man, things are really heating up out here in Chennai. We are out here and as you can see, it's really hot, really humid. But more than that, things are really heating up in the electric two-wheeler space out here in India because we are here to check out the T30 from Rapteehv. Now, if you haven't heard of Rapteehv, they are a Chennai-based electric motorcycle manufacturer. This is their first production motorcycle. The unique thing about this is the way this motorcycle charges. So you do have an AC and DC type charging socket. It is a CCS2 charger, which basically in layman's terms is the simple way of putting it. You can charge this motorcycle as you would an electric four-wheeler out here in the country. Now, does this motorcycle put your anxieties, your range anxieties to rest? What's so good, what's not so good about this motorcycle? We are about to find out. Let's get right to it. Well, like most electric motorcycles currently out there, this one too isn't trying to stay hidden, to say the least. But it's not because of some extreme radical design that comes across as being outstanding. On the other hand, it's got a nice looking 17-inch wheel setup at either end, with some sizable treads on there too. And the T30, to be honest, well, it has this bit of a power cruiser look to it up front, with the squished looking headlamp unit. But then again, it does come across as quite a sizable motorcycle once you check out the midsection because of those large fairings on there that edge out a bit. Even the standard model looks sleek, not slim, and sporty though, while the sport model, well, that looks a tad sleeker on account of the funkier decals and the tidier tail section. In fact, that's about it as far as differences between the models go, because besides the decals and the extended tail section on one of the bikes, they are identical in all that they comprise in terms of battery capacity, range, features, and underpinning. Okay, so moving to the subject of features. Now let me warn you that this part is going to be unusually long because of the way that this bike is basically designed and set up. So let's get right into it. So there's just one battery pack on offer on both models, and that's the fixed 5.4 kilowatt hour lithium ion pack that happens to be a stress member in this bike's chassis. Now the range is a claimed 200 kilometers IDC, which would imply around 130 to 140 kilometers once topped up in the real world. Alright, so this is your run-of-the-mill four-wheeler or your car charging socket, but I'm not going to charge a car today because I'm going to charge my T30 from Rapteehv, because this motorcycle, yes, it does come with an AC and DC charging socket. It is a CCS2 charging socket that allows me to use a public charger and plug this motorcycle and charge it on the go. Obviously, I haven't done my payment details, but once you get through with your payment details, your payment options and your configuration, you will get an option on your screen telling you that this motorcycle is being charged effectively. And yeah, the company tells us that it does take around 36 minutes to charge this motorcycle from an SOC of 20% to around 80%. So yeah, 20 to 80% SOC in 36 minutes. Does that put your anxiety, your range anxiety to rest? Let us know in the comments. Now I think that this is a real game changer in the space because, come on, a long charging / waiting time is pretty much the main reason you'd opt out of taking your electric bike out on a long ride, right? I mean, why would you want to ride for around 100 odd kilometers just to wait for 4 hours to charge up and keep repeating that cycle to get where you're going? It's a complete waste of time, right? Well, that's the USP of the Raptee T30 because you won't have to face that issue with this bike. You'll have access to all of 30,000 plus charging points across the country, and you even have the option to plug into any other two-wheeler fast charger network to juice up. Even better still, you'll just have to carry a single cable along to charge the bike from any 15 amp 3-pin socket otherwise, because the T30 comes with an onboard charger, a 3.3 kilowatt unit, which is said to take about an hour to get from 20% to 80% SOC, which is impressive in its own right. Now Raptee have achieved this by refining the architecture of the T30 over the course of 7 years and finally managed to strike a balance between the motor power management, power consumption, and the 240 volt battery charging cycles. Now the company say that there's an 8-year or 80,000 kilometer warranty on the battery, which will be replaced for free in the event that the output drops below 70%. while there is a 3-year 30,000 km warranty on the rest of the bike, excluding the belt drive and the brake pads. So that should be pretty reassuring longevity wise. Alright, moving on. Now the T30 boasts all LED lighting, a massive 7-inch TFT color touchscreen that responds very nicely to the touch even with gloves on, and with readouts like the TPMS, SOC, regen mode, ride mode, of which there are 3 by the way: comfort, power and sprint. Then you have connectivity status, range, trips, speedo, clock, and even a proper map navigation, and this bike uses an in-house built mapping system. And more, well, there's a good amount of information for you to siphon through at a single glance, and you'll want to take some time to get used to this layout to find what you're actually looking for at a single glance, because the font on there is kind of small at this time. Now there's a good amount of switchgear on there too, especially on the left hand side of the bar, because in case you're riding and you don't want to employ the touchscreen to toggle through any of the settings, you can employ the sort of D-pad, but you have dedicated buttons for your ride modes, reverse and park assist, as well as hill hold. So that'll take a bit of getting used to as well. Now since I'm on the topic of hill hold, and it's an awesome feature to have on there no doubt, like the 4 levels of regen and dual channel ABS, but you'll have to long press a button every time you want this feature to be active. There's no mode as such to have it on or off at all times. You also have keyless ignition, but right now there's no proximity sensor on the bike, so you'll just have to take out your key to lock and unlock the bike each and every time. Raptee tell us that they have taken our feedback into consideration and will turn these little niggles around for the better. How soon though, I can't really tell you. But for now, let's move on to the bike's ergonomics and ride dynamics. The Raptee T30, well, it has a seat height of around 790 mm. Getting it right, not real problem. But yeah, the weight of this motorcycle, now the weight is rated at around 177 kgs. Most of that weight, as you can see, a bulk of that has to do or is really focused here in the midsection, because that's where your 5.4 kilowatt hour battery is. That's where most of the components of this motorcycle actually lie. And yeah, these big massive fiber panels don't really kind of try to disguise that weight. And yeah, you can actually feel the weight quite a bit on this motorcycle with the steel trellis frame. Because yeah, in the way that it is currently set up on the steel trellis frame, I think they need to work on the frame, because riding in a straight line is no problem at all. You have all the stability you want, and you in all the 3 ride modes. Even in at slow speed, if you're riding in a straight line, it's perfectly fine in comfort mode. But in sprint mode, you'll have the most amount of fun on this motorcycle. But when you actually try to throw this one into a corner, well, the motorcycle just wants to sit back straight again, and it doesn't really enjoy cornering all that much. It doesn't feel all that confident as well. I think there is a little work to be done on the front end of this motorcycle to do with the chassis primarily. It can be a little better, but as it stands, if you're using it as a regular motorcycle, just going peacefully around, carrying on your chores and going about your business, should be alright as of now. The riding position is very comfortable and not stressful at all. And the suspension units, well, they offer around 110 mm of travel, which is quite nice for this kind of motorcycle, and therefore the T30 comes across as quite a comfortable motorcycle to ride at any given speed. And it's even got this nice sportiness to it thanks to the sprint mode on there. The only thing is that you'll have to put some shoulder into it to change direction quickly. Now, performance in sprint mode feels rewarding and is very much in tune with the company's claimed performance rates, which they say is on par with a 200cc ICE motorcycle. Alright, now a couple of things that I liked about this motorcycle is, yeah, the performance. Now the motor, it is slightly on the whinier side of things, not that quiet. But yeah, when it comes to performance, this motorcycle actually it's got that covered. It has 3 ride modes, out of which sprint is the higher performance, the performance mode basically. And yeah, that caught me by surprise, because I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of fun that I actually had on this motorcycle. I didn't expect it to respond and be as responsive as it actually is. Yeah, in a straight line, absolute blast. Tip it into a corner, not that confident, because yeah, the bike just seems to want to sit up straight again. But yeah, I did kind of have an issue with the brakes as well. I think the ABS calibration could have been a little better. Front suspension, little on the stiffer side. I mean, it could have been a little stiffer. Just tends to dip quite a bit. The rear suspension, well, that is a real tricky one, because the way that this motorcycle is set up, if you can see, just come a little closer to the rear suspension. If you check this bit out, you can actually see that monoshock is actually quite, the setup of the monoshock, it is bolted right just below the seat, and it is pretty much at a horizontal angle. So when you actually employ both brakes at the same time, the front brake, if you just go on the front brake, it kind of bogs down in front. Rear brake, well, it kind of does a squat. So it gives you a very strange kind of feeling, because you don't really expect that to happen. But it's not uncomfortable, it's not upsetting. I'm not too sure if it is overly upsetting. It doesn't, if it interferes with the dynamics of the motorcycle, but yeah, not a real, we didn't have a lot of time to actually test it out. We'll get to that bit a little later on. Hopefully we'll get our hands on this motorcycle soon, somewhere back home. Alright, now as you would assume, for the first time effort from a new startup, there are a couple of issues with the Raptee T30. Given its pricing of around 2,40,000 rupees at showroom, well, the fit and finish levels could have definitely been a little better. Then there are some electronic bits like the TPMS, which could be a little more accurate in terms of representational data. So there's definitely some fine tuning to be done here too. And the use of switchgear and the screen interface is a little too complicated and cluttered for my liking as well. But all things considering, the effort that these guys at Raptee have put into the T30, and that includes getting all the high voltage electronic parts, including the motor, the battery, minus the individual cells, the BMS, the motor controllers, and even the unique power distribution system built in-house, well, that took a fair bit of time to get together, because they had quite an issue getting tier 1 part suppliers on board. So this first production T30 model comes across as the result of steady progress, according to me. And Raptee, who are backed by the RI and the government in these parts of the country, are definitely onto something here by effectively bridging the gap between 2 and 4-wheeler charging structures. Alright, now to wrap things up out here with the Rapteehv T30. Now this motorcycle as it stands, quite bulky, quite big, quite massive in size, quite massive in presence. And when you come to think of the tech that this motorcycle involves, yes, this bike is set out to bridge the gap between that whole charging infrastructure that is a lot more sorted now for 4-wheelers. And yeah, you can actually implement that tech, charge your 2-wheeler, charge this motorcycle as you would a 4-wheeler out here in the country, which is absolutely brilliant. Now this motorcycle is the culmination of 7 years of effort from the guys at Rapteehv in Chennai. And yeah, this is the first production motorcycle, so obviously it is very rough around the edges. Fit and finish levels, level of tech, the amount of features in there, yes, it has the makings of a lovely motorcycle, but it all has to be configured a little better, according to me. Now this motorcycle is primarily going to be sold out of Chennai, primarily. They're looking at a number of around 1,600 motorcycles by the end of next year. And they are going to focus on those owners, the kind of issues they face, or any kind of issues they face, take their feedback, build from there. Now this motorcycle is, it is a mid-spec kind of variant. They are looking at a higher specification model and a lower specification model that is a lot more cost-effective, more affordable, and easier to run as well. So yeah, as it stands, if you live in Chennai, decent, but yeah, you will have to look out for certain issues that this first generation model actually comes with. Would I recommend you to buy a Raptee T30 at this point in time? Well, if you don't live in Chennai, no, I would not. Simply because, well, it's too much of a risk to shell out almost 2.5 lakh rupees to own this bike with pretty much no service solutions around or close by in the event of something going awry. Now currently Raptee is based and operating out of Chennai, but it's looking to expand to Bengaluru, followed by Pune sometime next year. And by that time, I think that this T30 should be in a much better, well-rounded space in terms of overall packaging.